Alright, so we're solving system of equations using the elimination method. This is also known as the addition method. So another method of solving systems is the elimination method or addition method. So there's a few steps we need to take. The first step, we need to write the equation in standard or general form. General form, or standard form, is ax plus by equals. So after you establish that it's in standard form or make it standard form, your second step is to make one variable and both equations have the same coefficient but opposite sign. So remember, the coefficient is the number in front of the variable. We do this by using multiplication. Our third step is to add the columns. This will eliminate the variable from step 2. Next, our fourth step, you're going to solve for that one remaining variable. In step 5, you're going to put the solved variable from step 4 into any equation to find the last remaining variable. Now, if you watched the graphing video, you notice that there's a few types of special equations that we have. We can have infinite number of solutions. So if in step 3, if you get 0 equals 0, that means you have the same line, and that means you have the infinite number of solutions. And to get a no solution, if in step 3 you get 0 equals a number, so it could be 0 equals 10, 0 equals negative 100, doesn't matter. 0 equals a number, you get parallel lines, so that's how they're no solution, they never intersect. So let's go over example 1. Example 1, we're going to solve using the elimination method. So our first step is we need to make sure that it's in standard form. And it is indeed in standard form. We have our x, we have our y, and it equals a number, so we're good to go. Okay, so our second step, we need to make one variable in both equations have the same coefficient but opposite sign. So if we take a look at each of these, well, the x have similar coefficients. They're both 7. We have 7. And then our y's are the same, but one of them needs to be the opposite sign. So we do this by multiplying. So let's multiply this by a -1, because if we multiply by -1, we'll get a negative out of one of these. So we get -1 times 7x is -7x, -1 times 3y is -3y, and -1 times 4 is -4. And we did nothing to the second equation, so we're just going to write it underneath. Our third step is to add the columns. So when we add the columns, everything cancels out, and we get 0 equals -2. Well, 0 cannot equal -2. That is impossible. So anytime we get 0 equals a number, we get a no solution. They're parallel lines. Alright, so let's move on. Example 2. We need to make sure that it's in standard form. It is not. So because x and y need to be on the same side of the equation. So let's do this. Let's make it in standard form. So let's work with the first one. We have 2x equals -5y plus 1. So to get it into standard form, we need to add 5y. Alright, so we have our first one in standard form. Let's put our second one into standard form. So we get -10y equals 4x minus 2. And in order to get it into standard form, we need to subtract 4x to both sides. So we have -4x minus 10y equals -2. Now we have both of our equations in standard form. So once they're in standard form, we're going to write them on top of each other. So we can add them using adding our columns. So we need to make one variable have the same coefficient, so the same number, but opposite sign. So we already have two variables that are opposite signs, so all we have to do to make it the same number is multiply it by 2, because we can make it 4. So we have 2 times 2 is 4x, we have 2 times 5y is 10y, and 2 times 1 is 2. We did nothing to the bottom one, so let's rewrite it. Now, as you notice, everything cancels out. We get 0 equals 0, so anytime we get 0 equals 0, it's a same line, so that means an infinite number of solutions. Alright, let's move on to something where we're actually going to have to work it out and get a solution and use all the steps. So, example 3, we want to solve using the elimination method. Now, our first step, we need to make sure that it's in standard form. and it is indeed in standard form. We got our x and y on one side, and we have just our regular number to the right. So we can go ahead and figure out what we need to do to get the same number, the same coefficient, opposite sign with the same variable. So if we look at our x's, we can make, they're already opposite signs, so we can multiply 5 in order to get the same number. So we did nothing to the top. Let's rewrite it. Alright, so we have 5 times x is 5x, 5 times 7 is positive 35y, and 5 times 10 is 50. So we're going to go ahead and add the columns. So step 3 is to add the columns. So when we add the columns, the x's cancel out. So we get 3y plus 35 is 38y, and that equals negative 12 plus 50 is 38. So step 4, we need to solve for the variable. So we solve by dividing by 38. So we get y equals 1. Now that's part of the answer. What do we need to do back with this y? Well, that's our 5th step. We need to plug it in. So we're going to plug it into any equation. It doesn't matter which one. So let's pick the bottom one. It's easiest. There's no negatives. Everything's positive. But it doesn't matter which one you plug it into. So we have our x plus 7y equals 10. So we have x plus 7 times y, which is 1, equals 10. So we have x plus 7 equals 10. Subtract 7. So we get x equals 3. So our solution is 3, 1. Alright, let's move on to the next example. Same thing. Now if we take a look at it, none of these numbers are easier to work with. None of the variables are easier to work with. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pick one and work with it. So let's pick our x. Let's work with x. Now again, it doesn't matter which one you want to work with. I'm just picking x first. So we need to figure out, what do 2 and 5 have in common? Well, 10. We can make them both 10. So let's make these both 10. So how do we make 2 10? Well, we multiply by 5. Okay, how do we make 5 10? Well, we multiply by 2. But we notice they're both positive, so one of them needs to be negative. Let's just do the top one. Doesn't matter which one you do, let's just do the top one. So we're going to distribute our negative 5 to 2x. So we have negative 5 times 2x is negative 10x. Negative 5 times 3y is positive, or excuse me, negative. So negative 5 times 3y is negative 15y, and 9 times negative 5 is negative 45. Alright, let's do the same thing to the bottom one. So we have 2 times 5x is 10x, 2 times 4y is 8y, and 2 times 5 is 10. Now we're going to add the columns. You notice our x's cancel out. So we have our negative 15 plus 8 is negative 7y equals negative 35. Divide by negative 7. So we get y equals positive 5. Now what are we going to do with this positive 5? We're going to plug it into any equation to solve for x to get x. So I'm going to pick the top one, no particular reason, I'm just picking it, there's smaller numbers there. So we have 2x plus 3y equals 9. So we have 2x plus 3 times y, which is 5, equals 9. So we have 2x plus 15 equals 9. Subtract 15 to both sides. We get 2x equals negative 6. Divide by 2. We get x equals negative 3. So the solution is negative 3, 5. Now with systems, it's very common to get applications, and applications is just a fancy way to say word problems, but never be afraid of word problems. All you have to do is read into the text and underline important things so we can get it. So let's move on to example 5. Let's go over this example. So Disco Donnie is having a benefit show in Orlando. The admission fee for 21 plus adults is different than 18 plus adults. A group with 2 18-year-olds and 3 22-year-olds pays $60 to enter the venue. Another group with 4 20-year-olds and 1 23-year-old pays $54 to enter the venue. Find the price for each ticket, 21 plus adults and 18 plus adults. So, we have a system here. How do we know we have a system? Because we have two sets of data. We have one set of 2 18-year-olds, 3 22-year-olds, and then we have another set of 4 20-year-olds and 1 23-year-old. So there's two types of tickets we have. We have our 21 and up, and another one we have, so we have two sets of tickets. One set of tickets where we have the 18 and up. We don't know what that is, so we can say it's X. And another set of tickets is 21 and up, so we can say that's our Y tickets. So we have our one group, our first group. Our first group, we have here, it says that we have 2 18-year-olds and 3 22-year-olds, and they pay $60. So let's just write that out using our X's and our Y's now. So we have 2 18-year-olds, so that's 2X, and then we have 3 22-year-olds, so plus 3 22-year-olds, which is Y, and they paid $60 to get into the event. So our second group, we have 4 20-year-olds and 1 23-year-old, and they pay $54 to get into the event. So we have 4 20-year-olds, which is X, and we have 1 23-year-old, so that's plus Y, and they paid $54 to get into the event. So you notice we have two equations now. That means we have a system. So let's write them on top of each other. So we have 2x plus 3y equals 60, and 4x plus y equals 54. Now we're just going to solve this as if it were just any system. So we take a look at our y's. Those are the easiest ones to work with because we only have to work with one of them. We can make our y's be 3. So in order for us to make our y 3, we need to multiply by 3, but they're both positive, so let's multiply by a negative 3 to get the opposite sign. So we did nothing to the top one. We did nothing to the top one, so we have 2x. We have 2x plus 3y equals 60. And then we have negative 3 times 4x is negative 12x. Negative 3 times y is negative 3y. And 54 times negative 3 is 162. Negative 162. Now, just like before, we're going to add the columns. Our y's cancel out. So we have 2x minus 12x is negative 10x equals negative 102. And now we're going to divide by negative 10. So we get x equals 10.2. Alright, so what are we going to do with this x? We're going to plug it in to find y. So, going to pick the bottom one because y is already by itself, and that's what we need to find. It doesn't matter which one you pick, but the more you practice, the easier it will be to determine what's the easier equation to work with. So we have 4x plus y equals 54. So we have 4 times 10.2 plus y equals 54. So we have 4 times 10.2. So 4 times 10.2 is 40.8 plus y equals 54. And we're going to subtract 40.8 to both sides. So we have y equals 13.2. Alright, anytime you have an application, you have a word problem, you need to answer in a sentence. You need to use your words because it's asking you in words. So the x, again, represented 18 and up, and the y represented 21 and up. So that means the 18 and up tickets cost $10.20 each. The 21 and up tickets cost $13.20 each. Now that's unrealistic, because if you know, anytime you go to a venue, it's cheaper to be 21 and up. But for the sake of the example, this is how it just worked out. Now, at the bottom of the attachment that I'm going to attach to this video for the PDF with the notes, there's additional problems. You can see them right here. And then below, I actually worked them out for you. I won't go over them in the video, but they're there for you just for a little bit of extra practice.